So, if you're joining us tonight, you want to learn how you can talk to the media to tell your story if you are an erased parent, an advocate for parental alienation, an advocate for shared parenting. And this brief training, I'm going to give you some quick do's and don'ts. And I made a big mistake, which is that I did not test going live beforehand, and Facebook has made some changes to the software. So that means that unfortunately I'm going live about 20 minutes late. I'm so sorry. I'm now going to take a minute to post this on the Erasing Family page. While I'll do, I will keep talking. Feel free to comment, feel free to share this video, and I'm so sorry that it took an extra long time. So I think that like what's very important with media training is not to do what I did to, hold on, I'm just gonna see if I can share this. So I'm sharing this right now. I'm sharing this to the Erasing Family page. Please share to your page. I'm sorry for the rough start, everybody, but now we're ready to get going. So why is this so important to know how to tell your story? First of all, as a movement that is trying to create family court reform, bring children home, encourage them to reunite, encourage lawmakers to change laws, family court judges to rule differently, but also for mental health professionals to know how to treat and prevent parental alienation, parents being erased, estrangement, and high conflict divorce. One bad story can really change how people see this entire issue. So we all have a responsibility to tell our stories in a way that builds empathy, builds support, but also creates change. You may be asking what my background is on this. I'm Ginger Gentile. I'm the director of the Erasing Family documentary. You can watch it for free on YouTube, Tubi, and a bunch of other platforms. If you want more information, go to erasingfamily.org. We also have a ton of resources. I've been doing a ton of videos helping parents reunite, helping kids reunite. And there's nothing more that I enjoy than bringing families back together and helping them heal after divorce and separation. I'm directing my fourth feature film. I've worked on both sides of the media. As a documentary filmmaker, I know how to interview people. I know how to build empathy and support with my subjects, how to investigate them, but also I know how to possibly trip people up if that's what I want to do. And the media is like that as well. You cannot assume that the media is your friend. The media is a useful tool, and there's lots of different people there. But remember, they're always out to get something, and that something is an increase in viewers. Okay? They might have another agenda, but really they want more people to watch their show or to watch their network or to read their newspaper, read their blog, right? So you need to fit into that and make their life easier by giving the media a story that is easy for them to digest, that is clear, and that will sell. And if you cannot do that, basically there is very little that you can do to make that work. So I think this is very important for us to know how, what the media is after. They're after stories. Now, now that we know what the media is after, we need to consider, is our story worth telling? And a lot of people, and this is a big problem with the shared parenting movement and the parental alienation movement, is that people kind of decide that they want to tell their story. And then because they decided they want to tell their story, they should be able to tell their story, and people should care about their story. The first thing we need to learn is that as a movement, we collectively, or the organizations, need to decide who is the best spokesperson to tell their story. So a good story has a few key elements. The first is that everything the person says can be proven, and if they can't be proven, they don't say it. Two, it's a compelling, interesting story. Three, the person telling it is sympathetic. We like them, we want to listen to them. This is so important. This is what people miss out the most on. That they think because they have a horrible story, people should care. People care about stories because they care about the person telling it. There's lots of suffering in the world right now. There are refugees. There are people locked in prison who have done nothing. There are people who are being horribly abused. There are people suffering from natural disasters. There are people who are homeless. So just because you are suffering doesn't mean people are going to care. Now, the other problem that people have when they want to tell their stories, I'm sorry if I'm being a lot very negative. People come to me all the time and they say, Ginger, I want to tell you my story. I want to tell my story in the media. It's the worst case you've ever heard, and it's like a movie. This is actually a bad thing. It's good if you want to sell the rights of your story to a producer to make a movie, and that might be very successful, might not be. But that doesn't create change. Because when people see a story that they find hard to believe or outlandish, it's not that they doubt it. They say, how lucky am I that I am not going through this? How smart I am that I did not marry such a horrible person. How unfortunate, but I will never experience this because I will make other decisions. So, unfortunately, the more our story is unique, while it may be interesting, it's interesting like a car crash is interesting. It doesn't necessarily build sympathy. When you see a car smashed on the side of the road, you drive by, you say, thank God it's not me. Maybe you'll drive a little safer, but you don't say, I'm going to become an advocate for safer driving right away. Oh, I want to see how I can help that person. We feel good about ourselves that we are not in the crash. So when you say my story is unique, you've never heard anything like it, it's a movie, this hurts the family court reform movement. Because you are telling people that they probably won't experience anything as bad. Your case is one in a million. And I also want to tell you all parents there, you don't want your case to be the worst case in the world. The worst case I've heard of end in murder, end in suicide. You want to have the best case. You want to have a typical case that results in a positive, happy ending and a positive reunification. Now, this is important because what does the media want? They don't necessarily want crazy stories. They want, especially in journalism, to show patterns. So what isn't interesting to them is that your ex did horrible things. What is interesting to them is that the family courts failed to protect your child's interests. By failing to protect your child's interests, and to show that this is a pattern that repeats with many families, by showing that this repeats with many families, that becomes a story, that becomes a public health issue, that becomes a crisis, that becomes corruption on a massive scale if you can show a pattern locally or nationally. And you can show that it's the children who are at fault. Also, we need to stop talking about parental rights and putting the focus on the parents and how the parents are suffering, because guess what? Nobody cares how you're suffering. Lots of people are suffering. No one cares. Otherwise, we'd live in a very different world if we all cared about other people's suffering. We care about our own suffering. So by reframing it as, do you know what's going on in the divorce system? I went there with hope that the courts could help resolve a problem, and they made it worse. Now people are interested in that story. So to recap, what we need is we need a sympathetic person to tell a story that is representative of a larger problem. And that sympathetic person has to speak well in camera. They should look nice. As you can see right now, I brushed my hair, I put some lipstick on, I'm well lit, I'm calm, I'm cool, and I'm collected. And I remember one mom came to me and said that she was approached by a producer of a TV show who was looking for stories, and she gave her this story of another mom who couldn't see her kids. And the producer said, no, this woman sounds crazy, sounds nuts, very traumatized. And we all know, well, duh, that's what happens when you go through parental alienation, when you can't see your kids. But people want to see a perfect person whose horrible things have happened to them. The perfect wife and mother, the perfect friendly dad. Any talk about rights, any accusations, even if they're false, this does not make a good story. I also want to just address what happens when people are motivated to be on camera. Now, there's only really one reason to tell your story, and that's because you want it to help others and you want to create reform. And in my experience, and whenever I interview somebody for a documentary, I always say this should be your last resort because three things can happen when you tell your story. Because people always think that magically, if they tell their story, some media fairy is going to come down and this media fairy is going to make everything right with their story. Oprah will save them, the president will save them, somebody will save them. Nobody's coming to save you. So the most likely thing that will happen actually is nothing will happen. Everything will continue exactly as it is. And that is even if, and I've seen this happen in one of my films, one of the dads in the film, he was totally sympathetic. He was in the movie that I did that got a lot of press in Argentina. And he did the talk show circuit. He went on about 10 talk shows. Nothing changed in his case. The other option, option number 2 of 3, is your case gets worse. Recently, they've decided that they can't put gag orders on parents for speaking to the media, but a judge could decide that they don't like that you're speaking to the media and make things worse. Your ex could get angry at you. Your kids could get super angry at you. Number 3, it helps your case, but that is the least likely option. So it always needs to be done with the idea and the motivation to help others. And you're not helping others if you do not have the best story to go to the media, and if you cannot show that you're part of a pattern. Sorry, getting messages. Um, I'm going to see if I can share this again. Give me a second. Let's see if I can share this. Hold on. I feel so awful. That this is happening with this tech issue. So just hold on for a second. I am seeing if this is live on the page, the Erasing Family page, because I'm broadcasting from my own page because Facebook changed this. Yeah, so it is being posted on here. So this is great. I see that some people are seeing it. So if you have any questions, type them in the chat. I'm so sorry that this wasn't um, uh, working out with the live link. So hold on. Let me see if I can do this. No. Well, anyway, I'll share it to the page afterwards. So what is very important also is that sharing a story cannot be done for therapeutic reasons. You need to go to therapy for therapy, and the media, and this is very important too, the media can be quite cruel, quite demanding, and quite stressful. If you are in a stressful place, if you are still being traumatized, and if somebody comes at you with a hard question, insults you, accuses you of something on national TV, can you keep your cool? And the answer is no, you should not go and talk to the media. Now, let's say that you decide to go on the media. The first thing and the most important thing that you need to do is you need to work with a media consultant who can train you on how to shape your story, how your story will work as part of a campaign, and how you can handle these hard questions. You also need to make your story easily to digest, repost, and publish um, for journalists as much as possible. What I mean by this is you need to create a press release that could be copy pasted to become an article. You need to have a hook. You need to know how to pitch your story. You need to have a clear call to action. What will people do with this information? Will they make changes in their own life if they get divorced? Is it about awareness? Is it voting for a law? And you need to know where your best targets in the media are. So, for example, the National Parents Organization, which I've worked for in the past, they are very clear that they address with their research, and they're very research driven, mainstream media, highbrow publications like the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and they are giving very clear factual information. Now there's also reality TV, there's Dr. Phil, there's daytime talk shows, late night talk shows, documentary films, podcast, talk radio. There's a lot out there today. So you don't have to necessarily go to the mainstream media, but even if you're going to a podcast, just to other people's podcasts, you need to be trained on messaging. And most people skip this step, but a lot of organizations out there have media training, so join bigger organizations. If this is something that you are interested in, just leave a comment, interested in media training, and I will reach out to you. You don't have to leave your email. I'll find you on Facebook and give you some more information. And I want to give everybody an exercise before we leave that you can do right now. And if you want to put it in the chat, that's great. If not, you can work on it. Telling your story in 25 words or less. So when parents come to me to tell their story, a few things happen. One, and I'm just going to throw this out there, this little thing, they use acronyms that even I don't know what they mean, and I've been doing this work for now over a decade. And today someone sent me a message and they're like, my ES won't talk to me because my ED is aligned with the EG. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, estranged grandmother is EG. I'm like, I've never heard of this. And they're like, duh, you should. I'm like, okay, we can't assume that everybody is a family court expert and uses this technical academic jargon. You need to test your message with a neighbor, with somebody who doesn't know you, somebody waiting for the bus, somebody at a restaurant, and see if it resonates with them. Or even better, say, I have a friend, they're going through this. Is that person, when you tell the story, skeptical or sympathetic? This is very good. I remember I worked with a dad who couldn't see his daughter for 12 years, and he was thinking about doing a movie about his story. And he sat a friend down who also made documentary films. He said, I'm thinking about doing a documentary on this story. It's a friend that I know, and told her the story. It was actually his story about how he couldn't see his daughter. And he said, what do you think? And she goes, I think the dad did something, man. I don't believe this at all. Now, if he had said it was my story, she would have reacted very differently. So it's very important to test, to tweak, and to work on it until it's perfect, because often with the media, even if it's not live, you get one shot. Think about how I messed up tonight by not being able to get on Facebook Live in a timely manner. I lost a ton of viewers. That's my fault. Don't be like me. This was a technical glitch, but you get thrown off from a question, you don't get a second chance with the media, because what they want to see other media stories that you've done. So we want to make it easy for them. And so we'll do a lot of exercise, then I'll wrap up about campaigning for parental alienation and shared parenting. Okay. Here's the exercise. Tell your story in 25 words or less. We're going to do fill in the blanks. I am a mother, father, grandparent who hasn't been able to see their children or grandchildren or child for X amount of time. I and then you can say, I went to the family courts and they were unable to help me. I went to the family courts, but I couldn't afford lawyers, and lawyers aren't free in family courts. One small fact, but I am one of 22 million parents in the US who cannot see a child after divorce or separation and who is experiencing parental alienation. Or this has happened to me even though I'm a school teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, something that gives people respect. Okay? I have been accused of nothing, but nobody will help me. And this is a very common situation. So think about how you can tell your story in 25 words or less because people don't want to read long paragraphs with all the details. They don't want to go through your court case. You need to make it easy to digest for the media. And also, if you ever want to talk to me, make it easy to digest for me because people send me stories all the time. And I'm like, I don't have time to read this. It's very confusing. I don't get what you want me to do with this. And just me listening to your story isn't going to help you or anybody else. So let me see if there's any comments, any chats. Getting some people saying this is great, lots of likes, that's wonderful, but no questions. Yeah, oh, you're giving sound advice. I get, what if you're not in the US? This is the same worldwide. So I first learned these techniques. I lived for 13 years in Argentina. And that's where I made two documentary films. I was president in Argentina. This is the same anywhere. The media is the same anywhere. There might be small cultural differences, but if we are in the Western world, those differences are minor. They might just be with how you dress. Maybe in some countries you should go to media appearance more formally. In some countries you might want to go more informally. Um, but you always want to look like the perfect mom or dad who's friendly or approachable. And I'll actually give an example. We're talking about shared parenting from the country Chile, which was a very successful movement. Always copy the successes, not the failures. So there was a movement called Amor de Papa, or A Dad's Love, and it was a group of dads who wanted shared parenting. In Chile, custody automatically went to the mother, and get this, but the mother had no decision-making power. So the dads had all the decision-making power where the kids went to the doctors, schools, but they had no rights to see their kids. Very crazy. And about 10 years ago, these dads got together, but who was the spokesperson for their group? A very hot, good looking dad, number one. Number two, who was a famous actor. And number three, he was in a wheelchair. And he surrounded himself by other dads and supporters, and they were all so friendly and they're big, and their symbol was a teddy bear. And whenever they'd go on a talk show, everyone would be like, "Oh, it's so tragic. You can't see your kids. You look like such nice dads." And like, we know we're such nice dads and we're so inoffensive and we just want to see our kids. And guess what? The Senate of Chile unanimously passed shared parenting a year later. No one voted against it because they were so sympathetic. So you need to be sympathetic. So remember, your homework is to work on your 25-word phrase. If you're in the shared parenting movement, stop talking about rights or even focusing on what the arguments against are. The National Parents Organization has done a lot of polling, and roughly in each state, 91 to 96% of people support shared parenting. Don't give time to the people who are against shared parenting. Shared parenting is also known as equal as joint custody, default joint custody. Don't focus on the five crazy people who are against it. Focus on building a coalition of people who are for it. Okay. With parental alienation, stop being so technical and academic about it. Stop saying it's counterintuitive. What does that mean? That's a big word. And then counterintuitive, you have to explain it. And it's this controversial theory, and very few people are trained in it, and nobody knows what to do. Stop. Everybody knows what parental alienation is. Everybody thinks it's bad. Now I know you're saying, but Ginger, nobody knows what it's called. So you say, have you ever met a family where the mom and dad and the kids, everything was great, very loving, then they got divorced, and then the dad or the mom could never see the kids again, and the kid didn't want to see the dad or the mom. And people think me like, that happened to my uncle, that happened to my cousin, that happened to my dad, and I haven't spoken to him in 20 years. That happened to me. Everybody has a story. Then you can say, well, it's actually very common. Oh, really? I thought it was just in my family. And did you know that the courts don't do anything about it? Really? I thought if you went to court, there's trained professionals. No, they're not trained in this at all. Sometimes they'll put a kid on a witness stand, and if the kid says, I don't want to see mom for no good reason, they'll never see mom again. No, that can't be. It is. In our state, the age of a child to say they never want to see a parent is 12 years old. Oh my gosh, that's awful. So we're letting teenagers decide? Yeah, we're letting teenagers decide. Oh, wow. Is there a name for this? Yes, it's called parental alienation and affects 22 million parents in the US alone. Wow, no one talks about it. No one talks about it because people are ashamed. And you know what? I was ashamed until it happened to me, but I need to educate people on this. It happened to you, but you look like such a wonderful mom. I know. And it's been awful, but I need to tell my story because I need to let people know that this can happen to anyone, even great moms like me. And that's why we need trained professionals and to reform family court so they know how to handle this and prevent this. Because once a kid says you don't want to see the parent for a few years, it's really hard to reverse that. So we need to train parents how to not alienate, how kids to know that they have the right to love each parent, and how lawyers not to make this worse. Are you with me or against me? I'm with you. No one's going to say they're against that. The problem is the messaging and how you talk to academics, how you talk to other professionals, how you talk to other erased parents who are going through this is very different than the media and a broad audience. You need to make it simple, simple, simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Has anyone wrote a 25 word has anyone wrote a 25 word story? So Kate Gleason, I'll just reach out to you. You can, it's the same thing in the States or in Europe. You just need to know how many parents are alienated in Ireland. Um, but there must be some polling, or you can even say, I myself know of 100 cases of parental alienation once I started to meet others going like me, right? This is the same everywhere in the world because people keep on saying, but what about, but what about? There are no what abouts. We need to be generic in this, not specific. Your specific details, no one cares about. So to wrap up, I'm just checking to see if there's some questions. Sorry about the technical um, difficulties. If you want to go deeper with this, reach out to me, and there's a few things I can do. One, I can do a actual press training for your organization. This would mean training people how to talk to the press, helping to create a campaign with clear action items and a timeline, press releases and all that. So you can reach out to me. Um, I do ask to be compensated for my time. So just to be clear with that, because I have worked for 6 years now on a racing family with no salary. And there's a lot of free resources. We're always dedicated to making free resources. But this information is valuable. It's designed to make you more effective, and I keep it as super affordable. I do the same also. I consult with parents who want to tell their stories. In the past year, I've consulted about with 8 parents. And I'm very honest. In the first session, if I don't think your story is palatable for the media, I will tell you and I will tell you why. Most stories aren't. And if they are, we can work together on how to making it more palatable. But it's really about coming together and finding the best stories and sharing and promoting them and making it just common practice that if anyone or any organization goes to the media, they get press training. If you don't want to get press training from me, um, get it from somebody else. Walking into the press, even if it's a newspaper articles can be worse because if it's a live TV show, you might mess up, you might be nervous, but they can't change your words. Print, they can totally change your words. They can interview other people who you don't know. They're interviewing. They can take words out of context. They can only quote you on one thing. It's very, very tricky. Promise me you will not start talking to the press unless you're trained on how to talk to them, even how to approach them. I get approached by organizations. I'm sorry if this is turning into a bit of a rant all the time and say, hey, Ginger, I want to share with you my organization. I'm like, why do you want to share your organization with me? Oh, just so you're aware. Why do you want me to be aware? Well, just in case of what? I'm super busy. Do you want me to volunteer for your organization? Donate money? Do you want to use Erasing Family, which I would love to do a screening to have it as a tool? Do you want my advice on something? Do you want me to recommend people? Do you want me to work on your board? What do you want from me? Oh, I just want you to know that we exist. And honestly, I never even click on the links at that point because that is unprofessional behavior. When you reach out to people, and I recently have been pitching, and you might have seen me advertise as media training as a boot camp. They're doing a more intense media training for people. They charge a lot of money, but I did their training. It's amazing. It's the Beyond TV boot camp with Chris Winfield and Jen Gottlieb. And what they taught me is that when you reach out to people, even in the media, one, they're people. They want it short, they want it sweet, they want it easy. They want to say yes. Don't give them reason to say no, but also always reach out to people asking, how can I be of service to you? So if it's a reporter, you're of service by giving them a story that will drive up traffic. Okay? Very clear? But if you want to outreach to other organizations, you want to support the work they are doing, asking how you can help them, not saying, look at me, what I'm doing, please support me, because people don't care. So to wrap up, be very clear on your motives for going into the media. Be very critical of your own storytelling skills. Test it, refine it, get help, get professional help. Remember, telling your story might mean that nothing happens, that your case gets worse, and very rarely that your case gets better. So your motivation should be to help people. Keep it simple. Shared parenting. Remember, everybody loves shared parenting. The polling's for it. You need to be sympathetic. Don't focus on the few naysayers. Parental alienation. Don't be scientific. Keep it simple and relate it to people's experiences. Remember, people don't naturally, I'll close with this. You're at a dinner party and there's a couple and they start fighting. What do? You want to leave right away or you want them to leave. You don't want to get involved. So when people see this issue as two divorced parents fighting, they don't want to get involved. This has to be an issue about systemic failure and a public health crisis about how our children are being harmed by losing contact with a loving parent and half of their family. Period. It cannot be about you and your ex. So on that good night, you know how to reach me. I will respond to you. If in the comments I see that you want to get in touch with me, I'll reach out to you and message you with how to do that. You can go to racingfamily.org. Please watch our documentary. It's free on YouTube and it shows people reuniting without the courts. And there's a lot of lessons on messaging there. Have a good night. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties. Bye.